Hey fifth grade, new video here. We are going to be learning a new topic and it is multiplication of fractions. I'm going to show you the poster that I made first before we get into the lesson. Just kind of run through the steps with you, and this poster will be written into notes, or I can actually just upload the picture for you and put it on Google Classroom also. So the very first thing I want to show you is that there are three different types of multiplication of fractions. The very first one is fraction by fraction, so multiplying fraction by fraction. Step 1, multiply your numerators. Step 2, multiply your denominators. When you get your answer, again, just multiplying straight across, you're going to have to reduce that, okay? Remember, reducing is another name for simplifying your fraction, and you're going to find your common factor, and you're going to make it smaller by dividing. The second type is fraction by whole number. Step 1, make the whole number a fraction by putting a 1 under it. You're going to get a problem like 1/4 times 5. Change that 5 to 5 over 1. Multiply your numerator times numerator, your denominator times denominator. You're going to get this ugly fraction, or improper. You're going to take that improper and make it a mixed number. Our third type is multiplying mixed numbers. Step 1, change mixed number to an improper fraction. This is our backward circle step. Take those two improper fractions, multiply them straight across. We're going to get a very large improper, so very large ugly, make it pretty. By, again, remember dividing. 10 goes into 33 3 times with 3 left over. All right, let's get started. Let me switch our camera. Sorry about that. Over to our very first example. All right, give me a second, guys. I'm still new at this. All right, our very first example. Multiplying our fractions, 3/4 times 1/3. And with this, get my marker out here, sorry. Can't get the cap off. There we go. Got my marker now, sorry about that. All right, our very first example is 3/4 times 1/3. When you're multiplying fraction by fraction, all you have to do is multiply straight across. So you're gonna multiply 3 times 1, and that gives you 3. Multiply 4 times 3, and that's going to give you 12. The next step says that you have to look to see if this needs to be reduced. And 3/12 does have a common factor. Remember, to find a common factor, you need to list them. If you don't remember them, you don't know them offhand. So 3 times 1, 3 times 4, 2 times 6, and 3 is going to be that common factor. So when you get that common factor, you're going to divide. Divided by 3 is going to make that fraction smaller, and that's what we want. And 1/4 is your final answer. I'm having problems here with my camera. Just give me a second. Yay. All right, let's go to another problem. All right, our next example, again, multiplying just fraction by fraction, that's what we're going to start with. Example 2 is going to be 2/3 of 1/4. Well, Mrs. Alvarado, I don't see a multiplication sign. No, you don't. You see of. So of actually equals multiplication. You're going to see the word of a lot in story problems. It means multiplication. So if you see what is 2/3 of 1/4, that means that you're multiplying those two together. So let's rewrite that so it looks better. Once we rewrite that so it looks better, all we have to do again is multiply straight across. Numerator times numerator, denominator times denominator. 2 times 1 is 2. 3 times 4 is 12. Again, you have to ask, is this needing to be reduced, ugly or pretty? It is ugly. So what we need to do is divide by that common factor, and we're going to get 1/6. And that is our answer. Let's do another one. All right, our next problem is actually going to be our whole number times our fraction. So this is where you need to put 1 under that whole number, okay? So if you have 5 pizzas and they are not cut up, that means that if it was in a fraction, it'd be 5 pizzas over 1 whole slice. It's like it's 1 big slice. Think of it that way, okay? So our very first example with multiplication of whole numbers by fractions, 2 times 1/3. You do not have to rewrite this. You can go ahead and stick that 1 right underneath that 2. If you want to rewrite it, you can. You just have to remember that the numerator is still going to be multiplied by the numerator, and the denominator is still going to be multiplied by the denominator. Now this one was super simple, wasn't it? We didn't have to do anything. There wasn't a big improper, it wasn't even, didn't need any common reducing, so we're good on this one. That's our answer. Let's look at our next example. Our next example is 4 times 1/6. Now with 4 times 1/6, again, we need a 1 under it. I'm going to rewrite it underneath of it so I have enough room. Okay, and with this, we are going to multiply straight across. So 4 times 1 is 4, and 6 times 1 is 6. So you look at that and you say, even though it's pretty small, they're even, which means 2 is a common factor. So I'm going to divide by 2. Can you see that? My answer is 2/3. 4 divided by 2 is 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3. So that is my final answer for that one. Let's do another one. All right. This one is a good one. And the reason being is because you're going to get a very large numerator. When you get a large numerator, you're going to have to reduce that and make it a mixed number. So again, put that 1 under that whole number. Don't mistake this as the whole number gets multiplied by both. It does not. It is not 5 over 5. It is 5 over 1. Think of it as a whole pizza that you haven't chopped up. That means it's 1 solid pizza. When we multiply these two numbers straight across, remember 5 times 2 and 1 times 3. Look at that really ugly big fraction. And that is an improper. Can't leave it like that. This is where you take bottom into top. Remember how we do that? 3 goes into 10. You're going to come up with 3 separate numbers. Those 3 numbers have to be changed, or excuse me, they have to be put into the fraction, into the mix. This is your whole number, this is your numerator, and this is your denominator. And remember what we say, denominators never change. So if you start with 3, you end with 3. So this is going to be 3 goes into 10 3 times with 1 left over. You can always do the backward circle step to see if it matches that 10 over 3. 3 times 3 is 9 plus 1 is 10 over 3. And that is how you're going to change those whole numbers times fractions into the real answer, the proper answer. One more of these. Let's do one more. All right, one last one. 4 of 3/6. Remember what I said. That of means multiplication. Rewrite that problem so you see that multiplication sign so you know exactly what you're doing. So we have 4 over 1 times 3/6. Don't switch the order. Don't switch the top and bottom. Make sure the numerator and denominator is exactly the same. When you get this and you multiply straight across, you're going to get 12 over 6. And you're going to think to yourself, well, I can do that. I can divide. Sometimes it goes in evenly with nothing left over. How many times does 6 go into 12? 2. That's your answer. Nothing left over. Sometimes you're going to get that whole number answer. So far we have fraction times fraction, whole number times fraction. Now, the last thing we're going to do is multiplying our fraction times our mixed numbers. All right, guys, you must do the backward circle step with every one of these. You cannot multiply those whole numbers by anything. Everything about this unit, this chapter is fractions, fractions, fractions. Keep your mindset on that. And once you do that, you're going to remember what you have to do. So the very first thing you need to make sure you remember is that backward circle step. So our first problem we're going to get is 8.5 times 2/3. Now, sometimes the mixed number is going to be first, sometimes the mixed number is going to be second, sometimes you're going to have two mixed numbers. You just have to make sure that you're paying attention to that. So if you have a mixed number, you've got to do that backward circle step. Do not switch the order of your fractions. You never know, especially when we're going to do division. So make sure you pay attention to that. Backward circle. 2 times 8 is 16 plus. So you are going to, right underneath of this, remember how we line things up, this is 17/2 times 2/3. You're thinking, man, I'm gonna get a big number. Yeah, you're gonna probably get some big numbers. You know, you can multiply that any way you need to. So in this case, we're gonna get 34/6. Can't leave it that way. 34/6 can be divided. You can do a couple different ways. You can simplify it first, or you can just go ahead and divide it and then see if you have to simplify. So in this case, 6 goes into 34 5 times, right? Because we're going to be doing, let me try to write this here, right? Don't forget you have those, whoops, sorry about that, guys. And probably laughing at me about that. I'm not too great with this. So you have those 3 numbers, all right? So this is your whole number, this is your numerator, this is your denominator, all right? And with that, you have to make sure that the 5 is the whole number, 4 and 6. Remember, the denominator never changes. So once you have that denominator, that's what you're going to stick with. Now, if you look at this, you still need to reduce that because 4 6 is even. So I'm going to divide by 2. My final answer is 5 2/3. All right. So make sure that you're paying attention to every single step to the problems. All right, let's do another one. One 3/8 times 1/4. Backward circle step. 1 times 8 is 8, plus 3 is 11/8. Remember that denominator is going to stay the same, so you know exactly where you need to put your number. And we're going to multiply this times 1/4. 11/32. Wow, looking at that, you're like, hey, I don't need to do anything with it. No, you don't, because you know that 11 doesn't have any other factors. It's prime, right? 1 and 11, and that means you don't have to reduce it. The top is not bigger, so you're set. So that's an awesome problem. Easy peasy. All right, last one. 2/5 times 4 5/6. And when we're looking at this, again, sometimes that mixed number is second. That means you bring this guy down here, line them up, and then do your backward circle step. So we're going to take 2/5 and mark it down. We're going to get 24 plus 5 is 29/6. And with 29/6, again, kind of big numbers, but you can do this. You can multiply on a sidebar. You can get out your handy dandy calculator. You just need to make sure that you are multiplying on this. And we're going to get 30. Right? 1858/30, right? So with 58/30, again, doing that sidebar, you want to make sure that you can change this into a improper fraction, or mixed number, sorry. Had a brain fart. So 30 goes into 58 how many times? 1, right? Because 30 times 2 is 60. So in that case, we're going to have 28 left over. That is, there's my sidebar, that is a very big fraction. We still need to reduce it. So with 28/30, we're going to divide by, what do we think? Yeah. So dividing by 2. And then they don't have any common factors when they're done. So 1 and 14 over 15 is your final answer. All right. If you have any questions, we're going to be on Google Chat during our times, and you're going to see this video. You're going to watch that, and you're going to have the set of notes that you can actually have, and I'll give you assignments. All right. Thanks, guys. Take care.